welcome to another episode of Rewind the Game podcast. I'm your host, the Mad Scientist. I'm really enjoying doing this podcast, and that is not the least because of the wonderful guests we have had on so far. And I got a feeling that today is going to be no different. This podcast is dedicated to football history and to football manager history. I always enjoy talking with people about their favorite players from days gone by, hearing about how they fell in love with the beautiful game, and the memories of Championship Manager and Football Manager. Today's guests are absolutely FM royalty. Their content is being watched by hundreds of thousands who love the rebuilds, the youth to goals, the race to the Prem videos, and much more. It's an absolute honor to welcome Omega Luke and Omega Dad to the show. How are we doing, fellas?
We're all good, thank you very much. I feel like you did yourself an injustice then because you didn't mention the retro stuff that we love to do thanks to your hard work.
Appreciate that. Yeah, how could I miss that? Because I must admit, guys, that I can't tell you how much I enjoy watching you two guys battle it out in one of my retro databases. The sheer excitement when you guys read out a certain name or sign a certain player.
Yeah, it's always good. And you've helped us, like, continue almost like the longevity of the game would not have been the same if it wasn't for those retro databases and the work that you guys have put into it. So yeah, the stuff that especially yourself have managed to produce. Even like I remember using your databases before I was even a content creator. So yeah, it goes back a long way. You've always helped in terms of keeping the game alive, I think, and keep it enjoyable with just something completely different.
I take that as a huge praise. I really take that as a huge praise. And you pay me back in wealth, I must say, because every time you post a new video using one of my databases, my download numbers just explode like that. So that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, but I'm super happy to have you guys on the show today. It's a retro podcast. You know, what else should it be? So we talk about the good old days and the favorite players of ours and the game that we love to play as well. So let's get into it. And we got to set the scene as well. Got to set the stage. So I know that you're both supporting your local team, Plymouth Argyle, but you also support two different Prem sides.
Yeah.
Can I ask, how did you become a Man United supporter, Luke? And how did you become a Spurs supporter, Omega Dad?
Go on then, you go first, Dad.
I'll go first?
Yeah.
Mine was mainly through my dad as well, supporting Spurs, but I watched a lot of games when they did come on the telly, but I absolutely loved the likes of Glenn Otto when he used to play for Spurs. One of my favourite midfield players of all time, really. So watching how skillful he was and on the ball and all that, and some of the players they've had. And one of the players that sort of like sticks out in my mind quite well is Gary Mabbott. He was a diabetic. And I'm a diabetic, so he was one of the very few players that was a diabetic who was actually playing in a professional sport at the time.
I did not know that, actually. I'm very familiar with Gary Mabbott, but I did not know that part of his story, so that's very relatable for you, obviously.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And a club hero, I reckon. He was a captain for years, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And I think if you go to the ground and do a stadium tour, he actually does the tours as well.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, sometimes you're lucky enough to get Gary Mabbott to do your tour, which is mental, isn't it? That's
excellent.
That's pretty crazy. But yeah, pigging off the back of that then, how I became a Man United fan instead of Spurs. I was born in 1992, so the reason why I'm not just... Because a lot of people always question why we have a Premier League side if we're from Plymouth. Plymouth wasn't on the telly back in the 90s. They were never on the telly. And if you either played your own football on a Saturday or, you know, you couldn't afford a season ticket, and we didn't go very often, then you didn't go and see Plymouth. You could only listen to them on the radio. So growing up, you don't situate yourself with that team if it's just you're only hearing them on the radio. You don't ever see them talked about on TV because we only had 4 channels. Like, it just wouldn't be possible. So I was a 92 baby. So when I was sort of really getting into football, 5-6 years old, it was around about 97, 98, and David Beckham was just the biggest thing in football. He was my idol growing up. So I remember crying when he was sent off in the World Cup, and Dad telling me, "I'll be all right. I'm sure he won't, like, anything bad will come of it." And then there was death threats and stuff. So yeah, like Manchester United for me was just because of like familiarity on the telly and David Beckham just being such an icon. And then off the back of that, it's just, always supported them from that. And I remember, again, when he left to go to Real Madrid, I cried my eyes out, and I couldn't believe it was happening. But I stayed with Manchester United because that was the team that I sort of grew up with. And as the years have gone by, it's been easier to support Argyle because they have been a little bit more prominent, and obviously there's more channels, more highlights on the lower leagues in England. So it has been easier, and I can see why, like, now it's easier for youngsters to just support their local team. But yeah, everybody in Plymouth had a second Premier League team. It was just one of those things.
So you're actually you're class of 92, actually. You're part of the class of 92 somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was born in July '92. So I think the Premier League season started I think it's 11 days after I was born, which was the very first Premier League season. So
yeah, also
weird time to be born, right in the middle of all that change, really, in terms of football.
Definitely. And I can relate with that, what you're talking about, coming from a little town like Plymouth. I come from such a small country, so all football fans in Denmark also support the local team, but also teams abroad, obviously, because we have to. And I'm raised on English and Italian football. That was on the telly in the 90s. Danish football wasn't even professional back then, so we watched the English First Division and Italian Serie A. And also other things that meant a lot to me when I was a kid / teenager was the World Cup. I have so many fond World Cup memories from Roger Miller's goal celebration dance at the World Cup 1990 with the corner flag. We also had Ronaldinho's goal on David Seaman in 2002. Sorry for that one.
Oh, yeah. What a goal, though.
To Denmark versus Brazil in an epic David versus Goliath battle at World Cup 1998. That stands out very clearly for me. But if I ask you guys, what was the first World Cup you watched, and what is your favorite World Cup?
Yours is going back a long time.
Oh, too long.
Interesting.
Well, you were interestingly born 1966.
I was born a few days before England actually won the World Cup. So my dad said I was just born, and he was praying that I wasn't going to be born on the day, because obviously he'd be in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I was already born, and I was in the front room in my granddad's arms while he was watching the telly, watching England win the World Cup. So I could practice.
Wow.
I was there watching it, but I didn't know much of it.
I think that's also the first time we've given away your real age, because normally I say you're a lot older. So yeah.
I'm actually 40. So but going back,
I think you've told me before it was the 74 you remember, because you would have been 8.
Yeah. And who was the team that was in it?
1974 World Cup. I think that was the one that you told me was the first time that you remember watching on the telly.
I'm trying to think who won it then.
What, 74? Or Mad might know.
Oh shit.
I want to say Brazil. I can remember watching in a hot country. I wasn't in the hot country, but it was in a hot country. Brazil just playing so well.
Well, Mexico was 74, wasn't it?
Might have been Mexico, yeah. And they had the really old the Brazilian players that you can remember. But there's always one there. There was a really tall guy. They used to call him the Doctor because he was
Socrates.
Socrates, was it?
Yeah.
I can really remember him as sort of
famously was wearing mad shirt that he's got on right now.
Oh,
I think,
yeah,
also,
yeah.
I can always remember him sort of being the first sort of Brazilian player that I thought, I really think he is good, type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's just the way he was. And I think it was just because they used to call him the Doctor as well, sort of just stuck in my mind. But it's around about that, probably the 74 one then, really. And then you go over the years, there's just so much to remember. The Germans just sort of really doing well. And I sort of the worst one in my mind is when Argentina beat England with Maradona.
86, yeah.
That's the worst one in my mind, really. Like, I think, even though you brought up the one with the goal, the Brazilian goal that chipped over Seaman, I think, all right, yeah, it was a bad mistake by Seaman, but I just the Argentina one with Maradona was my worst memory in sort of the World Cup as well. So.
It still hurts to this day, I can imagine, when I talk to some of my English friends.
Definitely does hurt to this day, yes. And that's the other guy that with Beckham when he got sent off.
Simeone.
Absolutely.
I still don't like Simeone. Like now, still don't like him.
If you watch any of our videos and he pops up,
yeah. Unbelievable manager. I just really dislike him just for that one thing. But that was my first World Cup, the 1998 one.
Yeah.
94, I'd only been 2 years old, and obviously England was even in that one. So, but yeah, 1998, I remember that one very well. I remember getting very upset because of that Argentina game, unfortunately. But yeah, I think like even throughout the years then, I think every World Cup I hold like certain memories as to where I was when England was eliminated. And I don't know whether that's like anybody else's thing. Like the 2002 one, I was in my primary school hall because we were going in to watch it because it was early mornings because it was the Korea-Japan World Cup. So for us, it was like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was still in primary school. So luckily they were doing like watch-alongs. Like I remember that one very well. And there's just certain things that really stick out because of World Cups.
That makes a lot of sense, definitely. All right, so the crossover. Oh, excuse me, sir.
When Denmark won the Euros.
Yeah.
That sticks out in my mind because obviously they didn't qualify, did they? They were on the beach a few days.
Exactly. They were all on vacation, drinking, enjoying themselves.
We got a sweepstake in work, and I actually pulled Denmark out, and I thought, I got absolutely no chance.
No.
£60 better off at the end of the tournament. I thought that was brilliant. So they'll always
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely great.
That is brilliant. We got to remember at the Euros back in those days, there was only 8 teams in the Euros, 2 groups of 4. But yeah, we were so fortunate. Definitely, that's the biggest upset ever for such a small country like ours. Yeah,
no, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and our best player back then, Michael Laudrup, wasn't even called up because he didn't want to play for the manager we had at the time. So we did it without our best player. It makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, that's a great shout, definitely. So, as I said, the crossover on this podcast is from us talking about real-life football memories to talking about your experiences with playing CM and FM. Do you remember what the first version of the game was that you played and how you came across it? Did someone introduce you to it?
I do. I don't know what your one is.
Is it the Spectrum computer?
Yeah, but that's a different version. That's a manager game.
That's the first sort of manager game I actually came across on the Spectrum game, and it used to take ages to play it. And I enjoyed it when I actually got into playing it, but it just took so long. And when you had to download the game and you'd be there for 20 minutes waiting for it to download, and it buzzing in the background as so it was on a telephone or something. But then from my childhood, when I finished doing that, I never played it again until Luke started playing it. Really,
yeah. But I think my first one, so my uncle, Dad's brother-in-law, was always a massive player of it in the 90s. And I remember he had a computer that he used to play Championship Manager 98, 99. And whenever I used to go down my auntie's house, I used to go upstairs just watch him play it. And he used to always be Plymouth Argyle. And I used to just be sat there just watching. So I was just so intrigued by what he was doing. Like I never wanted to actually take over or anything because obviously there wasn't a lot to actually do on the game. I was just fascinated watching him play it. And I remember he mentioned that you could get the demo for it once in a cereal box. So I remember getting mum or dad to buy the cereal box just to get the demo. And then me and my next door neighbor, who was a big Man United fan as well, we used to literally just play the ass off of the demo. But you could only play 6 months in game. So it would be like we'd start off at Man United, we'd play 6 months, and then we'd have to restart again. And we would just do that nonstop. And that was just the same thing over and over again until I think I eventually got 2005. I don't remember ever getting the other ones, I don't think, because I was too young to have like a laptop or anything. And then it wasn't until sort of like 2005 where I really dived into it. I think like I picked up manager games like LMA Manager on the PlayStation because I had that console. But yeah, the PC version of it, I definitely remember playing 98, 99, but then it wasn't until actual Football Manager 2005 came out where I had that one, and I've had every one since. So I reckon that's probably where Dad sort of joined in, and because you played a lot of the mobile versions as well. We used to play a lot of the mobile versions, and I remember sort of like 2008 time was when you were really into the mobile one. So it wasn't until that sort of like even the last like 4 years really where you really started playing the newer ones on a laptop or a PC. And even then, it wasn't until I got you a laptop a couple of years ago where you were really playing it. So yeah, it's not been only been recently for Dad as terms of desktop, but
I'm hooked on it now. That's the problem.
Yeah, you play it more than I do, really.
Next time I've got it at home, out comes the laptop and I'm sat in the corner. I just asked my wife, you can watch whatever you want to do. I'm just playing my game on the computer.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant to hear. And I gotta ask if I ask you to highlight any of your all-time favorite Wonder Kids, to remember some of the Wonder Kids on the early versions of Football Manager. And also, I need to ask you, Omega Dad, what is the actual story about Frank Kessie?
Go on there. You tell the story.
When I first started, because my memory's not too good, and especially with names, I am really, really bad with names. So I call everybody mate or buddy. So when I first started playing against Lugan, obviously, I thought to myself, right, what have I got to do? Every time we get a new challenge, it starts off with the same year and all that. So I thought, right, I'm going to start writing players down in their positions and all that to players that I really like in order of what value they are. So if I'm playing for certain teams and I've only got like 40 million to pay, I know I can go for these type of players. And Frank Kessie was a player that I really, really did like. And he came up in the region of about 20 to 25 million when I first started playing the game with Luke. And what I didn't realise, I wrote his name down twice.
3?
Was it 3 times?
You wrote him so for DM, he had wrote his name down twice. And then when it had like centre midfielders, he had also wrote his name down there. So I was like, you got Frank Kessie here 3 times.
So Luke sort of made the joke out of it on one of the videos that I was like, Dad's looked at his list and he's got Frank Kessie written down 3 times. So he must like him. And he's put him on his phone now as a quick dial because when he's ever after him. And it was the, what do you call it?
The screensaver.
The screensaver is actually on my phone as well. And it sort of all kicked off when the African Nations was playing as well at the same time.
Yeah, because he started playing so well, didn't he?
Started playing, and we was getting all these messages. I bet your dad's watching Frank Kessie and all that. And I didn't actually know it was on. And I'm getting all these messages and I'm thinking, oh, because it's on quite late as well. And one evening, and it was the evening of the final, we were out for a meal. And I was getting all these messages saying, I bet your dad's watching Frank Kessie on the final and that. And I said to my wife, we got to hurry up because I want to get on and watch Frank Kessie in the final. And I know it's live on the telly. And I was sat there, I was chuffed to bits that he actually won as well. And I think he was captain as well, wasn't he?
I can't remember he was captain. I think he like scored or something. He did, yeah, or man of the match or something along those lines.
Like that, yeah. So I was so pleased that the only game I actually watched him play in the African Nations was the final when he actually won it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny story, really.
The story of Frank Kessie.
Yeah.
Whenever Luke always says to me now and again, it's sort of say, right, Dad, we've got to sign different players because obviously this game's been so long. We
got to vary it up a bit. Yeah.
And when I says, yeah, all right, yeah, okay. And every so often I'll just think Frank Kessie back into the team. And I always seem to win the challenge that sort of season type thing. And whenever I get Frank Kessie back, I always say, don't I?
Yeah.
Lucky charm.
I win with Frank Kessie. I never lose about it.
You make Franks here. Brilliant. No, but that's what makes like the videos quite fun though, is having like that ongoing story that everybody knows. To the point where like when we were playing in the Zealand League the other day, I hadn't drafted Frank Kessie, but I had full intentions of drafting him. And then I think it was Zims who drafted him before me. And just because Dad was sat, they were like, you would have won this if you had Frank Kessie. And it's just such like an ongoing joke that's been going for like 3 years. It's brilliant. In terms of like my favorite Wonder Kids, I mean, Freddie Adu is a big one because it was one of the first.
Yeah.
There was another one, and I don't know whether you remember this one, Mad. Nicholas Milan. Do you remember Nicholas Milan?
Chilean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was 14 or something at the start of the game, and it was before Football Manager sort of had that like rule against putting 14-year-olds in the game.
Yeah.
And he was playing for Colo Colo, I think it was, at 14 years of age. I don't remember whether it was FM 2005 or 2006. Maybe even 2007. It was one of those 3. It's an earlier one. But I always think, I wonder what happened to Nicholas Milan. And I think I like recently looked it up to see what his career panned out to be. But he used to be awesome. I loved a bit of Nicholas Milan.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Yeah, and it's sort of one that I don't ever hear anybody talk about. And it's one of those like Mandela effects where I was like, it definitely happened, right? There was definitely a Wonder Kid called Nicholas Milan, but I'm glad you backed it up. Yeah, he was one of the early ones for me.
Definitely, and I understand completely what you mean because he was in the game. He was good in the game for like maybe 3 or 4 years. I remember like Carlos Fierro. He was really good on the game for 3 years or something like that, and then he disappeared because he never mounted to anything in real life. So I understand the Mandela effect.
Because there was two Mexicans who were really good at the same time. Was it Eric Torres and Carlos Fierro?
Yeah.
Both at the same time, like FM12. They were like, as soon as you start a save, all right, let's bring the boys in.
Yes, let's go.
Straight away. And then like later on, there's always those wonder kids that you bring in, like the Balantas, etc. from 14, 15, and yes. That's what makes the game great.
I think mine was when I went back to when I played it the first time on the Spectrum machine or even in mobile, was a player called Hulk. It was a striker.
No, that wasn't the Spectrum. That was the mobile one. Yeah, Hulk when he was at Zenit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We done a challenge, didn't we, in Italy? Yeah. And I've just never known. I never come across him, but I was searching for a striker, and all of a sudden this 31-year-old striker comes up, a Hulk, and I could afford him. And I said to Lou, I said, that's the striker I always used to sign. It was like the first striker coming through. So I signed him just for a laugh, really, and he was good enough to be in my team. But what I didn't realise that I'd signed too many foreign players.
Oh yeah, and he couldn't play.
I couldn't play for 3 seasons. I couldn't play him because he had a return. So I'd signed this player that I said, well, I've signed Hulk, my sort of hero back in the time, sort of thing, and I couldn't play him.
That was class. Yeah.
Good on. So yeah, funny as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also asked you guys in advance to put together your all-time greatest starting 11. So let's continue to talk about some of our all-time favorite players. Take it away.
Go on then.
Do you want me to go first?
Go on then.
I had to write my text. Like I said,
That's wrote it down. Of course he has.
Names, 11 names. I never remember them.
Do you want to go through one each, or like through each team, and then go to the next team?
Oh, that's a good question. That's up to you, actually.
Go on then. You go goalkeeper first, and I'll say my goalkeeper.
Right,
Yeah, cool.
So mine have gone off like over the years of the teams that I've watched, the players that I've enjoyed watching in that certain position. So they may not be the best player in the world. I mean, there's a few players on here that I've thought about put it in, but I've just didn't enjoy watching them. So my first one, my goalkeeper is Buffon.
Mm.
I've always thought over the World Cups that I've seen and all that, and that he's played in it, what's a keeper, so entertaining and all that. So yeah, my best keeper I thought was Buffon.
That's a good call.
10 out of 10 points. I'm a Parma supporter, and I watched his very first game as an 18-year-old goalkeeper back in the mid-90s. Been in love with him since, so that's an excellent shout, definitely.
Yeah, good one. To be honest, there's a couple that spring to mind, and I'm very biased towards certain Manchester United ex-keepers, with one of them being Danish. But I'm actually going to pivot away from him, because when he then went to the likes of Villa and Manchester City, that kind of hurt me a little bit.
Yeah,
that did hurt my feelings. You can't do that. So I'm going to go with Edwin van der Sar. I think I remember when he signed for Juve, we were supposed to get him instead of Barthez, I think the story goes. And instead, he moved on, and we ended up getting Barthez. And then from that point, Manchester United struggled to get a goalkeeper that would stick until we got Edwin van der Sar. And even then, he was like, 34, 35 when we signed him. And he was absolutely excellent. Just a leader, just very good at the back. Obviously, we won Champions League with him. He was brilliant. And I just always think, what if we had Edwin van der Sar throughout those times? I mean, we were still dominant in terms of the league and domestic stuff. But if we had van der Sar instead of some of the donuts that we actually had in goal back then, how much more successful we could have been.
And he was at Fulham before United, wasn't he? Yeah, just for a short while.
Yeah, he went to Fulham from Juve, I think.
Yeah,
it was
right.
Juve.
Yeah,
crazy.
Are you playing the same formation?
Well, what have you gone for, Dad?
I've gone for a 4-1-3-2.
Bloody hell. I'll go 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. Take it away.
We've got 4 defenders each, though, so we'll cover the defenders. Really, so
definitely.
I'm going to start off on the right back is Cafu.
Oh,
I don't have to say anything.
The Brazilian Gary Neville.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was going to write Gary Neville for a laugh.
Yeah.
Reaction to you guys. I thought, no, I'll take it a bit more serious. Yeah, Cafu. That's I just can't say no more than that. What a right back.
Yeah, he was excellent. Yeah. I'm going to go with Philip Lahm. I think Philip Lahm is very underrated. When he retired, it just sort of everybody went quiet about him and how good he really was. But when you think back to his career, quite a legendary career, really, in terms of not only club but internationally as well. Philip Lahm for me, really good.
And so versatile. I remember him as a young player as a right fullback, but throughout his career, he was so versatile.
Yeah, ended up playing centre midfield at some points, very much like Joshua Kimmich does now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Very, very good in that, can just drop into different roles.
Definitely.
Go on then, left back.
I think we might be the same.
I think this could be the same.
I think we will.
Dennis Irwin.
Carlos.
Yeah, it is the same.
The two Brazilians.
Really, you know, you're looking at that free kick that he just sort of sent to the corner flag and then let it come back into the corner.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Like it was on strings.
Yeah. Unreal.
Yeah,
unreal.
Absolutely brilliant. I think, piggybacking off of Dad's thing, Roberto Carlos, like growing up, being obviously the David Beckham fan when he eventually moved to Real Madrid, we then started to like follow Real Madrid because it was all over the news. Like we didn't get as much Spanish football back then until David Beckham moved across. And there was two players that I absolutely loved on top of David Beckham, not on top genuinely, but as well as David Beckham, let's say. One was Raul up front, like fell in love with Raul, and Roberto Carlos was the other one.
The Galacticos.
Yes.
Yeah, those years in Madrid.
What a fun era of football that was.
Yeah, definitely. All right, central defense. I'm looking forward for this, yeah.
Yeah, because I think we'll be totally different here.
Yeah, different eras.
Yeah, different eras here. I mean, I can't go centre-back without saying Bobby Moore. You just can't go no further. What an absolute leader. And obviously he won England the World Cup as well. So, captain to I can't say no more than that, really. Such a pleasure to watch play, made the game look so easy. And if you talk to any of the players that were around at the time, or they talk about him, they just can't say enough about how good and what a gentleman he actually was in football. So, I just couldn't think of anybody else. He was my first sort of name on the paper, really.
Excellent. Yeah, that all counts, his personality as well. And as a leader, definitely. I didn't witness him himself. I haven't watched him play myself, but obviously as a football historian, I've researched the 1966 World Cup, so that's my knowledge about him, definitely.
Well, Pele said he was the hardest player that he ever played against.
Yeah.
Yeah, that counts a lot, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Definitely.
All right, centre-back wise, this one's a bit controversial because a lot of people will say you shouldn't be centre-back, but Maldini. Because a lot of people always say, obviously, that he started off as left back. He eventually moved to centre back after Baresi. But growing up, for me, Maldini was a centre back, and he was, for me, just the best centre back in the world. And I look back on like his actual career even before I started watching and following Italian football, and you just think, oh my god, he's better than what I even remembered him being because of how much of a legendary career he had. So yeah.
And one of the videos that you actually done for us were one of the
retro ones.
You done. We picked him, didn't we?
Yeah.
He was coming through then as a youngster and left back then as well. So it was good to see it and remember it then. Really.
Yeah, from the 86-87 database.
I mean, when I make my databases, I added Paolo Maldini on the 86 database, and he's also on the 07 database. I mean,
that's
what
crazy.
A career! What a career!
What a player!
Yeah,
and so loyal as well. I applaud loyalty as well, like that.
Yeah, I agree. Go on,
fantastic choice.
Well, next one. Well, there's another sort of massive name, really, Frank Beckenbauer.
Oh wow. Der Kaiser.
German, and I'm looking at the German, like I said to you earlier about the World Cup, so and I can remember the German teams and all that. Frank Beckenbauer was just one of those players that you just think, wow, what a player type thing, I'd love to have watched him play live type thing, but you never get a chance to, obviously, the foreign players and all that. So, that's my other centre-back. So him and Bobby Moore, I just thought two massive great leaders there that you couldn't get better, really.
What a pair. And Beckenbauer, as I understand it, was ahead of his time somehow because he was a central defender, like sweeper, but he was brilliant at running forward with the ball as well, bringing the ball up.
Yeah. And that's why I picked him, really, because I thought, well, Bobby Moore would just sit there letting, and giving the ball, just go, off you go, my friend, off you go.
That is very much two centre-backs before their time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so my other centre-back, I always flip-flop between who I like as like a legendary centre-back because it's hard for me, like English-wise, I always think, and Manchester United-wise, Rio Ferdinand has got to be up there. But I'm always like, but is that just a cop-out? Am I being too biased? But I generally think he was so good some seasons. Rio Ferdinand, I've got to pick him. I think sometimes listening to him now is absolutely like scraping your head against the wall, unbearable. But as a pundit, not great. As a player, I think he was fantastic and a bit of everybody says the cliche. He was a bit of a Rolls Royce centre back. He was fast, strong, good leader, good on the ball. Transformed Manchester United's defence when he sort of settled in. Yeah, I think Rio Ferdinand.
I was a fan of Rio as a player, most definitely. Brilliant choice as well. That's the defense sorted for both teams.
Yeah, I'll set mine up now because I'm playing a 4-1-3-2. So my one, which is going to be my defensive midfielder, I don't think you get no better than Luka Matthäus.
God, gone to chew Germans.
Just can't beat the Germans.
To be honest, I used to look at this player, and he's about the same size as me, as in height, like small and stocky type of thing. And I think that's what I liked about him as well.
You once called him the German Frank Kessie.
But yeah, I just felt that he just swept everything up and just stopped anything coming through. And it just made it so easy for the defense. But he was so dangerous going forward as well. So
he could score goals as well, right? Yeah.
And he was another leader. He's that sort of person that if he was in my team, he was always going to be the captain, I feel, because he was in that sort of position where he would control everything and tell everybody what to do. So I just thought, as a player, what a player he was.
Yeah, complete. And the leadership level in your team so far.
Yeah.
Through the
Who's going to be the captain of that?
Take your choice.
Bobby Moore all the time.
Yeah, okay. So I've gone for like a player that I just really enjoyed watching instead of who I think was maybe like the best ever player, because I think that's kind of the vibe that I wanted to go down for my best 11, and that's Andrea Pirlo. Like I think as like a player, sort of when he sort of got pushed back into that regista type of role, it was just so like entertaining and like interesting to watch how he played the game. I think interesting is more of the word than entertaining, because a lot of what he did wasn't exactly like, oh my god, what is he doing on a football pitch, but just how he would drop in, pick the ball up between the centre backs and just like be like an engine, be like a motor, and just watching like midfielders from that time going, what do we do? Do we go towards him because then we're basically playing up front? Do we close him down, but then he's too quick to pass the ball around you? Like, how do you play against Andrea Pirlo? And I think even when like he was even in his older years, he just adapted his game to suit him. And sometimes he was the coolest guy on the pitch. Well, every time he was the coolest guy on the pitch, and I always appreciated that. And sometimes it was bad for being against us in terms of like Italian teams against English sides. But yeah, Andrea Pirlo was a joy to watch.
Yeah, you must have played against him with Man United as well. He played both for Milan and Juventus and stuff. And I mean, the football IQ on that guy was just because he was never fast, but he was always like a step or two ahead of everyone else.
Yeah,
so impressive.
I agree.
Love that shout.
I've got 3 attacking players now because obviously my defense is so good that I've just felt right. I'm all out attack now.
Yes, let's go.
I'm going to start on the right hand side because I might have an idea that Luke might even go the same player here. He might not. I think he will. David Beckham. I just think, as in a player you could give him the ball and he'll put it on a sixpence anywhere on the pitch with one touch, and it would just be there. And if he must have been, and I was a striker in my time. He must have been a striker's dream to have out on the wing there, type of thing. Playing that ball, and you just knew. And we've heard Gary Neville talk about it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Gary Neville's job was all he had to do was just get Beckham the ball, and the strikers just knew they had to make a run because he was going to whip that ball in. And I think really, I'm going to go on with this story as well. The best football memory that I've got of a game that I've watched is when David Beckham scored for England, and me and Luke were there. I took Luke to Manchester to watch England play Greece. We needed the draw, and it was about 4 minutes ago.
Less than that. It was the famous David Beckham free kick.
It was actually an extra time, wasn't it?
No, it was stoppage time. Yeah. But he had a free kick. He had a free kick like 3 minutes before the end. And I remember Dad going, "Yeah, it might go." And I was like desperate because this was 2001, so I was very, very young still. I was only 9. to qualify for the 2002 World Cup.
Of course.
And he's smacked the first free kick and it's hit the side net or the roof of the net, one of the two. We were right behind the goal. And I just remember thinking, that's it. I just remember Dad's words were, don't worry, he might get another one. And I think, look back on that now, I think the balls of Dad to say that to a 9-year-old kid, not knowing that literally 2 minutes later, he was going to get a free kick in arguably a harder position and smash it right into the top corner where we were stood behind.
The thing with it as well, the angle that we were on, if there was no net in the goal,
we would have caught it.
We would have caught the ball.
Yeah.
the minute he's actually hit this ball, we could see it was in.
Yeah.
There was no way the keeper was going to get to it, but we could see it going into that sort of the triangle bit of the goal around the corner there. And just what an atmosphere that was.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
If you watch the video of that end where he scores, he runs off to his right, which is the opposite side of the goal where he put the ball in. But then he's done the complete circle, come all the way round, and he stands right in front of us, really. And he's given it sort of the large one that we're in. We've qualified now because of him, really. And that's sort of my best memory in watching the live game. And it was great because I had Luke with me as well.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's going to be my right-handed side attacking midfielder.
Incredible story. Love that story attached to that choice. Absolutely.
You picked a good game to take us to watch.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, Luke.
So, other centre midfield. I always, again, maybe a little bit biased, but Roy Keane was just peak entertainment to watch. One of the best players on the pitch. You were hoping it would be a scrappy game because then Roy Keane comes into his own, especially if it was against the Arsenal. Like, those days were just peak football for me growing up. Patrick Vieira versus Roy Keane. I wanted to watch that every single week. That would have got boring. Yeah, and unlike Real Ferdinand, where I slagged him off for his punditry and can barely listen to him now, I could listen to Roy Keane all day, every day. Now, I think the man is hilarious when he's punditry, when he's having a go at people, when he's on the podcast that he does. Yeah, Roy Keane for me, what a legend, but what a player as well.
Absolutely.
He's got a saying that me and you love, don't we? Then when people moan about they're going to do all this running or something like that, and he just goes,
that's his job.
He's doing a good job. We just think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
he's such a character.
God, I love Roy Keane, definitely. What an enforcer to protect Pirlo, and he can attack as well, Keane.
Yeah, in his younger days, he was a goal scorer. He used to get on the end of it. His Forest days and early Man United, he's good.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to go to the left-hand side now of my attacking team.
Yes, please.
And I've watched this play. I haven't watched him live, but I've watched him play on the telly so many times. Ruud Gullit.
Oh,
for Holland, I just think, and I've said to you, in the Dutch side, they had so many really good players.
Yeah,
I just felt Ruud, and it was probably I watched him in Italy as well when he played in Italy. It's probably because of his hair as well. It sort of makes it
iconic.
More sort of like the headers, especially the headers. He used to jump so high, didn't he? And you'd think, how does he got up there? So it's like Ronaldo does now, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
He got that so high. But with his hair as well, when he ended the ball, it's like a bullet, wasn't it? So, but going forward, absolutely brilliant. A player, absolutely brilliant. A manager, absolutely terrible. The worst we've ever known a lot for what he done at Alan Shearer at Newcastle. I hate him for being a manager, but for a player, he's in my 11, starting 11. Ruud Gullit.
Yeah, excellent choice. I was such a fan as well. I mean, brilliant player.
He's like one of our favorites on a retro database.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, when it's like an early enough retro database where Ruud Gullit is on there, we're like racing to try and sign him. He's just the guy, and he's the whole iconic look. He plays everywhere. He's normally one of the best players in the world. Yeah, he's superb.
Yeah, exactly what you say. You could start him in central defense. He'll be one of the best defenders in the world. You could start him up on top. He'll be one of the best strikers in the world. Incredible.
Yeah. What a player.
Yeah.
I'll go to the right-hand side then. Very obvious choice. We've mentioned him quite a lot. David Beckham had to be in this. Had to be.
Of course.
So, yeah, I'll go David Beckham.
Yeah. As a Man United supporter those years, you have to. Definitely.
Yeah.
And if I can insert a quick little personal anecdote, I've been to 2 different stadiums in England. I've been to Old Trafford once, where I was so fortunate to watch Wayne Rooney and Ronaldo playing together. and I've been to Rochdale Stadium once. That's the two stadiums I've been to.
And which one was better?
Yeah.
Probably Rochdale.
I'm going to say, which one did you stay drier at?
Yeah.
It's quite dry in there when you're in that stadium.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, we don't even have a stadium in Denmark that's as big as Old Trafford, so that was mind blowing for me at that point of time, most certainly. But yeah, Beckham is one of the players I would have loved to watch in real life, most certainly.
I'll tell you what, it's the work that he does off the ball as well. People don't see.
Yeah.
Because on telly, when
Probably,
you
yeah.
watch teams, you don't realise how much work plays off the ball. And the amount of running that he used to do, especially in that game against Greece, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He just sort of like picked England up and said, look, we're going to qualify no matter what. And he just ran the whole pitch to try and get that extra goal that we needed to get that draw.
I think there's been like 4 players, because I haven't watched that many games live, mainly because where we are in the country, like I don't really get to, but there's 4 players in my lifetime where I've watched a game and gone, I now have a newfound appreciation of how good they are. One of them was David Beckham from that one game there. Wayne Rooney, again in an England shirt, was just next level, just how much harder he worked than anybody else on the pitch. Lewandowski, when he played for Poland against England in the same game, I remember watching him train and just go, Jesus, that guy's good. And he was like by himself, just like kicking a ball around, and then like on the pitch, you just appreciated. And then the last one is Lamine Yamal. Like last year, I watched the Euros final in Berlin, and it was one of those things where I felt like I was watching, like you're watching somebody who's going to be the next biggest player. And like how much of a genius he was, the touches, the movement, and everything. And although he didn't have an amazing game in that final, he still played well. I still felt like just watching him live, like you felt like, oh, you're watching something special here, Luke. And like, yeah, that was one of those occasions from watching a live game. Those 4 players for me.
That is awesome. And yeah, Yamal at that age.
Yeah.
And he shares the same birthday as me.
Yeah, just a very different year. 45 years later.
I don't know. No.
Oh, well, let's move on. Yeah.
Attacking midfielders is my last midfielder. And I've mentioned them already when we started talking about football and all that. The guy that I really love Spurs for, Glenn Hoddle. I just feel that
of course,
in his time, what he could do with the ball, and the passes that he used to slide through to the attackers and things like that. I should just think, wow, I wish I could do half as what he could do on the pitch, type of thing, And he just made the game look so easy. I always remember watching the game where, and I can't for life of me remember who it was against, but he sort of like someone passed the ball to him on sort of close to the 18-yard box of our own game, type of thing, and he's turned, pushed the ball forward, and then he just pushed it, and he hasn't actually touched it, but he's dummied 2 players just by body swerves, and they missed the ball because he like dummied it go one way.
Oh, I know the clip.
He was going to go that way, and he didn't. So he just carried on going straight. The ball going right through the middle of the pitch, and then he even dummied the keeper with a body swerve as well, and then just slotted it into an empty net. And I actually showed you this guy.
Yeah.
And I had to find it because I explained it so many times that I've watched it. And yeah, just for me, that Glenn Hoddle for what he done. And there's another guy there that you sort of like I look at and go, this time I do like him as a manager. I thought when he was a manager, I thought he was probably one of the best recent managers that we've had in time, really. Tactically, he was absolute genius. And how he set up the team. And if you talk to the players that played for him, they all said the same as well, that tactically he had it. A bit like Terry Venables, really, when they were the best. I feel England were the best team in the world at those times when Dan Hoddle was manager and Terry Venables was manager. We just didn't have the luck at the time to sort of win the tournaments that we felt we should have won, really. But yeah, as a manager and as a player, I love the guy.
Incredible shout. I remember him when he played in France as well, in Monaco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chris Waddle at Marseille at around the same time.
Yeah, Chrissy Waddle. I mean, little story with Chrissy Waddle. I've seen him come to Plymouth Argo and play for Spurs at Plymouth Argo. And he was playing on the right-hand side that day. And he went down the wing and he beat Argo's left back and just dummied him, making him look so silly. And you could see him laughing. So he turned around, went back and dummied him again, and beat him again. Instead of going on down the wing. And the crowd just, all on that side, you could just see all the crowd just stand up and just applaud him because of what he'd done. And how he thought it was so funny to go back and beat the Argo player. And both times he was on the floor when he had passed him. So yeah, really good.
Gotta love that. What a team you're assembling, sir.
Yeah. All right, I'll go central attacking midfield then. And there's one guy who I was kind of obsessed with in sort of the later 2000s, and that's Kaká. Kaká at AC Milan, the just before he moved to Real Madrid, because Real Madrid, that was a bad move for him. I would love to have just lived in the alternate universe to see what would happen if he never left, or he went somewhere else, because there was a lot of talks he was going to go to Manchester United when that happened. I would just love to have seen what that happened. But yeah, I remember I had his the Champions League AC Milan shirt with Kaká on the back from that season, the season where he then went on to absolutely destroy Man United at Old Trafford. And made two players clash together as he headed between it and then knocked us out. That goal there, like that season there for me was legendary. I loved Kaká. I was obsessed with the way he was running with the ball, his finesse. I thought he was brilliant.
You had a shirt, didn't you? The AC Milan.
Yeah, that's what I say. I had the black and red shirt with the collar, and it had gold writing on the back because it was the Champions League one. I wanted that specific one because that's the one he just ruined us at Old Trafford with.
Excellent choice. Another excellent choice. What a baller he was, Kaká.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So strikers, I'll go for two strikers.
Yeah.
Marco van Basten. Go to that Dutch side again where you had sort of Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten all in the same team.
Yeah.
I've just seen it. I mean, like I said earlier, I used to be as a striker. Some of the goals that he used to score, and I just think, wow, what a player. What a player, and sort of, I love watching him play for any team, really. If it was on the telly and it was his team, I'd watch it just to support him, really, and see how he's playing all that. So, yeah, one of my top strikers that I really love.
Such a shame it was like ended so soon. Yeah. Like age 28, having to retire.
Yeah.
But still 3 Ballon d'Ors before you're 28 is absolutely insane, by the way. That's mental in that era.
He destroyed England with a volley from way out on the 18 in the corner and just volleyed it.
Because I always think now, like, I know Messi and Ronaldo probably won 3 before they were 28. Maybe Ronaldo was after, but I think Messi got 3 before he was 28. But like they were playing an era where it was like almost those two were the level and everybody else was underneath. Yeah. Whereas Van Basten won 3 Ballon d'Ors where he was at the same level with the likes of Gullit and Platini and all of these other players from like the late 80s and early 90s where everybody was the same. I know, like, for instance, Maradona wasn't able to win it, I don't think, because you had to be European at the time. But yeah, I mean, what a player to manage to accomplish that before he unfortunately had to retire.
Exactly. Scored more goals than he had appearances. And that goal in the Euros final 1988 against Russia, it was, I think, back then. Yeah, that's epic as well. What a finish that was.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, on the left-hand side then, it's my last Man United player, I promise. It's Cristiano Ronaldo, and it has to be. Like, for a guy my age it's a shame I can't get Messi in, but I'm David Beckham. But yeah, growing up was a Cristiano Ronaldo guy, playing for Manchester United. Like, it was so much fun to watch every single week with him, Rooney, Tevez, just tearing teams apart on the counter-attack. Like, there's some of the stuff, like, how frustrating he was in his early career at Man United, watching that and watching him try and do loads of step-overs and take somebody on and lose the ball. You were like, oh. But he always had something special, and I love the stories of, like, when they got on the plane after playing Sporting and playing Ronaldo in a friendly, and Ryan Giggs went up to the boss, Sir Alex, and was like, you are signing that guy, right? Like, we are definitely signing him. You make sure we're doing that. And Gary Neville having like one of the worst preseason games ever because he had to mark Cristiano Ronaldo. I just love hearing like stories about him like that. And I think like the work rate that he puts in is very commendable. The fact that, he's 41 this year, whatever it is, and he's still unbelievable and still really good. It's such a shame that obviously he has gone to Saudi Arabia where I can't watch him as much, because that time when he randomly signed for Man United again, I was like, this is the best day of my life when he came back. Great first season, then it obviously ended really sour, which is such a shame because he's a bit of a legend here. But yeah, I'd still appreciate all the years I had before he moved to Real Madrid.
Of course. Gotta be in your team.
Yeah.
Gotta respect that.
I very nearly put him in my team, but
Yeah.
there was just a few players I sort of a little bit above that, really. My last striker, and Luke knows me very, very well, is my favourite striker of all time. This guy was probably the second one in my team sheet, Alan Shearer.
Oh yes, all right.
I just love this guy as a striker at the time. When I was playing as well, I used to just love watching Alan Shearer score goals for fun. It's for me, he had everything. He had the strength. He could use both feet. He could use his use his head, and for me, that's an out and out striker. That's all it was. Just get the ball. And I always used to say to Luke because I've been manager of Luke's teams, over the past years and all of that, and even when he was a child, I always used to say to him, if you played up front, the 18-yard box, anything inside that 18-yard box is yours, and you just go for goal. You don't pass it to anybody. You just go for goal. But if it's in that 18-yard box, why are you on the end of it? And that's how Alan Shearer always played. It was his ball. No matter what, it was his ball. And I just loved Alan. So I've seen him score so many goals. We've watched him play for England as well.
Yeah.
And what to me is, as a Geordie, I'm not a Geordie, but as a Geordie, it must have been a pleasure for him to come back to Newcastle and do what he'd done and set the records for Newcastle and all that. Because it would have been such a shame if he had gone to Man United.
His trophy cabinet would have been a lot more full.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I feel sorry for him, really, because he never actually won anything, really. It's a bit like Harry Kane, really. For Spurs, Harry Kane's my favourite striker. He never actually won anything really like that. I mean, I say
this season he has, yeah, but for Tottenham, yeah.
Alan Shearer won the Premier League, didn't he, with Blackburn?
Yeah.
But for Newcastle, he didn't win anything with them, really. It was just such a shame because he would have loved to have held a trophy up for Newcastle and all that, But it's by far my favourite striker, really, for me.
Love that choice. Excellent choice.
All right, got to end on a high now, and I don't think there's any higher that you can get than R9 Ronaldo.
Oh.
R9 Ronaldo. I mean, anybody who scored a hat-trick and getting a standing ovation at Old Trafford deserves to be in an all-time great list. And then, watching clips of him back of when he's playing, I think it's like Lazio, where he's playing on a pitch which has like no grass. And they are trying to hack him down and they literally can't touch him. It's like you're watching a god just messing around with players. It's like he knew what the defenders were going to do before the defenders decided to do it, and the dribbling, the finesse, the finishing ability, the pace. I mean, it's such a shame he got like Van Basten was just hampered with so many terrible injuries, because even when he was like older, a little bit fatter, it was still so much fun to watch. And I just think, what a player. I mean, the Brazilian sort of party nature that they have obviously never helps a lot of these players as well. The same as like Ronaldinho, who only just missed out on my list. I think if it wasn't for Ronaldo, I think Ronaldinho would have been up there. But Ronaldo for me, R9 Ronaldo. So I've got two Ronaldos on there. If it wasn't for R9 Ronaldo, some of the stuff that, in the late 90s and early 2000s was just, what a joy to watch.
Absolutely. And what an epic battle between Marco van Basten on Omega Dad's team and Ronaldo on Luke's team. Wow. Two incredible sides you have assembled there, I must say. And please, guys, let us know in the comments whose best 11 you think would win in a head-to-head between these two guys.
Oh.
That would be some game, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That would be juicy. All right, we got to move on. Time flies. We have a weekly quiz on this podcast, and at the top of the leaderboard currently, we have Musterman FM with 7 points. Right behind him, FM Llama with 6 points. Are we going to get a new number one today?
Are we classed as one team?
Nope.
No.
You're participating individually.
Individually.
Yes, I prepared 2 different quizzes. We got 5 questions for each of you with a total of 17 points to get. A correct answer will earn you 3 points. If your answer is wrong, I will give you 3 options to choose between. If you get that right, you'll get 1 point. Furthermore, one of the questions is a super chance, which gives you 5 points for a correct answer.
I can tell you.
So it's up to you two guys who want to go first.
Someone's going to remember, like, really, really good here.
It ain't great. It's just better than your memory. Yeah, go on. You go first.
All right, nice, cool.
Most easy ones for me, all right?
I'll try to pick questions at the somewhat same level, so it's fair for everyone, and it's from different categories. There's some fun ones and some historic ones. Let's get to it. So, and I wish you the best of luck for this one. So, the first question for Omega Dad: which goalkeeper has the highest current ability on FM24?
I'm just going to go for my favourite keeper on FM.
Oh, think of who's the best keeper on FM.
Costa.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's the keeper I always called to.
He's not got the highest current ability, though, is he?
No, sir, that won't give you 3 points, but I have three options. I got three options for you to choose between. There's still 1 point to salvage. So is it Ederson, is it Alisson, or is it Thibaut Courtois?
Courtois.
That's 1 point for you, sir.
Thank you.
There we go.
You saved that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
I can't believe you went with Diogo Costa.
All right, let's get to some real life football history. Second question: who was the first player to score a Premier League hat trick?
Is it still me or Luke now?
You.
Me.
Oh. Yes.
I want to say Alan Shearer.
Are we going with Shearer?
I'm going to go Alan Shearer.
Sadly, that's not correct. So I have three options for you to choose between then. Is it Eric Cantona? Is it Stan Collymore? Or is it Mark Hughes? Cantona, Collymore, Hughes.
Collymore.
It's Cantona.
Is it?
For Leeds.
Oh, I forgot when he was at Leeds. Do you know, I can't remember him scoring very many hat tricks. That's what it was. That's what put me off him, really.
Fair enough.
I definitely want to go Mark Hughes for a Man United.
He just turned to me then and went, "Ain't Jamie Vardy, is it?" I went, "Did play in the Premier League 2014."
First Premier League hat trick. That would be amazing, to be fair.
20 years later.
Yeah. All right, let's find a question from the fun fact category. What is Harry Redknapp's middle name? Or Henry Redknapp, which is his real first name?
Do you know he's my favourite manager, and I absolutely love this guy.
Oh.
But I've never known his middle name. I'm just going to say it because no, he's got two sons. I was going to say Jamie because his son's called Jamie. Harry George. I'm going to go George.
Ooh. Sadly, it's not George. Let me give you three options to choose between. Is it William? Is it Arthur? Or is it James?
Oh, no. I'm going to have to say James, isn't I?
Yes, that gives you 1 point.
Oh.
You're so close going for Jamie initially. All right. You got 2 points so far. Now it's time for the Super Chance question. Time for the Super Chance question. You can earn yourself 5 points, but you got to hit this spot on.
Right.
You get 1 point if you're one off. So the question goes like this. How many goals did Thierry Henry score in his international career for France?
You should know this as an Arsenal fan.
I get so much tick about being an Arsenal fan. Sorry, non-Arsenal players. How many did he score? Oh, what's so hard, but that is. I'm going to say 52.
You know, I always hope for my guests to do well, and you did very well. You're one off. 51.
What a hell of a guess.
Wow.
Fair play.
Does give you 1 point. One off. That's incredible. That's impressive. 51 goals and 123 appearances for France. All right, fifth and last question for Omega Dad. Some Premier League history here for you. In the 1994-95 season, the Premier League was reduced from 22 teams to 20 for the following season. Which club was relegated from the Prem in 1995 despite finishing fourth from bottom due to league restructuring?
Such a good one, isn't it? Bolton.
That is sadly not correct. Let me give you three options to choose between. Three options. Was it Norwich, or was it Crystal Palace, or was it Leicester?
So Norwich is the yo-yo team. We always call them the yo-yo team, don't we? They're always up and down, that thing. Norwich, Leicester, or Crystal Palace. I'm going to go Norwich.
Sadly not correct.
Who is it like?
It's Crystal Palace.
Palace, yeah.
Is it Palace?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know, my next guess would have been Leicester.
Ah,
I would have left Crystal Palace last.
Yeah. Well, Leicester was quite good, weren't they, until
Yeah.
a certain point. So
that does leave you with 3 points.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember being in the championship. Yeah. How many did I get?
3 points in total.
I'll take that.
that's 3 more than what I thought you were going to get.
It is a tricky one, to be fair.
Yeah.
It is really tricky. Some very different questions. But let's move on to Luke. Are you ready for it, mate?
Oh, this is going to be big pressure now. So if I don't get 3, it's going to be really embarrassing.
That's the first benchmark for you now.
Yeah.
All right. We start out with an FM-related question for you, Luke.
Okay.
In which version of Football Manager was the director of football role first introduced?
Oh. FM 15.
Sadly not correct. I got 3 options for you to choose between. Was it FM 12, FM 13, or FM 14? So you were pretty close.
I'm going to go FM 14.
Very close, but not correct. It was 13. 13. All right. Let's move on to some Premier League history. And you have to excuse me. Once again, it's an Arsenal question.
That's fine.
In Arsenal's invincible 2003-04 season, Thierry Henry was the top goal scorer in the Prem with 30 goals. But who came second behind him?
What, and it's an Arsenal player or just in general it's...
In general.
Okay.
Premier League top goal scorer. Arsenal.
In 2002.
3-04. The Arsenal invincible season.
3-04.
Yeah.
Oh. Is it Ruud van Nistelrooy then?
That's a hell of a shout. But no, it isn't.
Oh.
I got 3 options for you, though. Time to salvage 1 point. Was it Alan Shearer, Louis Saha, or Nicola Anelka?
Louis Saha.
Sadly not.
Still
Still
that was
no
a
point.
curveball.
Still
Oh
no points.
no.
Be Alan Shearer, come on.
It's Alan Shearer.
I thought there's no way you stick Louis Saha in there if it wasn't the actual answer.
Yeah, cheeky little one. All right. We got one from the fun fact category again, so shoot from the hip if you don't know this one. What is Robbie Keane's middle name?
Oh God. I met him last year as well.
Didn't you? Yeah, at the airport.
You didn't tell me his middle name. Oh, okay. I'm just going to guess that it's Robert and Robbie's not actually his real name.
Ooh, sneaky. But not correct. Let me give you three names to choose between. Robbie Keane's middle name, is it Alan, or is it Sean, or is it David?
Robbie David Keane. Robert Alan Keane. Robbie Sean Keane. That doesn't sound right. Robbie David Keane. Robbie Alan Keane. Alan. That sounds the better one of the 3.
His full name is Robbie David Keane.
0 from 3 so far.
You need a miracle now. Time for the super
yeah.
chance. 5 points on the
It's pretty
line.
annoying. I knew 4 of Dad's answers.
That's brutal. And I had the 2 quizzes like this. Mere coincidence.
Alan Shearer, right? Just
Yeah.
now, yours.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal. All right. Super chance, 5 points on the line. Gotta hit it on spot on. If you're one off, you will get 1 point. How many goals did Miroslav Klose score in his international career for Germany?
Whoa. Well, he got like 12 in one competition. I'm going to go 48.
Sadly, that doesn't give you 5 points. It's a bit higher. It's 71 in 137.
Way off. I was thinking in my head, I was like, I know he got like 12 in one competition, World Cup, but then I don't know whether his like longevity would have been that long. So
he kept on for a while. That takes us to the 5th and last question, Luke. Let's get this one. Who won the Ballon d'Or award in 1999?
Uh-oh.
I want to put money on you doing this one.
Give this. I'm torn between 2. Michael Owen.
That is not correct.
No.
I have 3 options for you to choose between. Last chance to salvage a point. Was it Andrei Shevchenko, Rivaldo, or Luis Figo?
Rivaldo.
Yes, Luke. There we go. Yes, please.
Got a point. It's
You
not,
got
that's
a
not
point.
super embarrassing.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was hectic.
That's what I've just said, because I won.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Exactly. That takes you into the 3rd position in the all-time leaderboards in our little quiz, Omega Dad. So very well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
That takes us to the end of the podcast, guys. Thanks to both of you for taking part in the quiz and for taking part in today's episode. It's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you inviting us on. And again, thank you for all that you do, not only just for us, but for the community as well. Because yeah, your databases are just absolutely amazing. They're the most fun thing in Football Manager, I really do think, when I get my hands on a new retro database and we just spend hours just looking through all the players. I almost sometimes I don't like watching your streams because I like the surprise of looking at it and finding them myself, and then I'm like, right, avoid the stream, and then you'll post little clips on Twitter. I'm like, oh, I can't resist. I have to look at it and see what they're looking like. So yeah, big thank you to you, Mad, for all the work you've done, not just recently as well, but for years, for giving me a lot of entertainment with retro databases.
I appreciate that. Very, very kind. Very, very kind, guys. I really appreciate that. And you know what to do, guys. Go and support these two. They deserve all the success in the world. Obviously, we share the links in the description below. And we'll be back soon with another episode, so make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and thanks for watching. Until next time.